completely bedbound, I'll say it's private, back channel me, I want to help you. So those people I all answer. And then the few doctors that I'm friends with. But I get messages from people that are like way too nice to me. And like, and they're, if I start to search them, I'm like, dude, these guys are all DOD, NSA, CIA. Like, I know from 5 seconds, I can tell right away. They're so buttoned up, too sweet, too like, and they're so published, and they're all over certain spaces that are not like internal medical spaces that I look for things, and they're like super on there, and I'm like, yeah, no, you don't even care about me, and I like next, like I don't even respond because I'm so afraid of them.
Yeah,
And
this
so
this person in the space that crashed was like basically a nobody. They didn't have a lot of strength in their attack or anything. They just had like a small number of followers, and all they were doing was just saying, you're lying, it's not a gene therapy. That's all. That was their contention, and then the other two doctors were arguing back with them as to why that was wrong. That's all it was. It was nothing significant.
oh, but it wasn't that Drew's comments guy that I had to
No,
call.
I don't think so. I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Okay. That's the guy who's always on Nelson's and Grant's page. He's the guy who works for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, apparently.
Who does?
That guy Drew's comments.
Oh, I don't know. I don't
know. He's always, every time he posts, he makes $250 per post. Somebody leaked out the pay schedule for these people that do the communications on social media. Like they started at Clubhouse and they came over here. So somebody emailed out a pay schedule to me of how much they make per post, and I laughed. And I'm like, how come nobody's offering it to us on the other end? Because we spend like 8 hours reposting studies, and these guys are making like this, and there's a sliding scale apparently. So every time they post, depending on the engagement, I'm assuming they take pictures or there's analytics, and then they get their paycheck. Because it's crazy. Wait, have you guys seen this? I didn't know about this.
No.
I'll post it. I'll send it on a back channel, and you guys can disseminate it. Yeah, so every time they post, they get like a total reimbursement. Because unless you're like selling like, vitamins and stuff, or you're trying to do telemedicine, or you're trying to promote like healing stuff or whatever, there's no reason for these people to be on there just to shoot the shit and like be so crazy about things. So they make money for each post. So I looked into it actually out of curiosity. So it's a trust fund that was given like a 501(c) intermediary that goes to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and it all comes in either from Facebook money or from like that Media Matters thing is, I don't even, factcheck.org, whatever. And then there's the companies like the M and the PHs that also put money into this like bucket, and then the third party is the one who hires these yahoos, and then they get paid through them. So the money is cleaned that way. So it's considered like COVID education or vaccine education. It's considered unbranded education, not like where they have to follow like any of the legal rules through like the pharma or biotech guidelines, which you have to if you're doing direct promotion. So they use this third party. That's a whole investigation I need to work on and do too, but I'm working on too many things. But so there's these third parties. And the one thing I said is, how come we don't have like a fact check or a Reuters.org? We were going to work on it, another team. There's that America's Nation. Is that what it is? America's something?
America Mission, yeah.
You guys, are those good people?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Okay, because they were asking me for some help on something. So I told them, can we just do a separate arm, and we'll get like, there's a lot of kids in school that are conservative and they're in the sciences, and they would love to do nothing but like, gain like kind of experience fact checking these effers, is how I call them. And so we want to create that arm, and I want to do it with American Mission, but I don't know who to trust. I don't know any of these people, and everybody talks about vetting, and I don't know all these people who hold the spaces. I don't understand anything about this stuff. I'm not on social media at all. I'm like complete nerd.
Well, I can help you just at least with the aspect of America Mission, because I was actually there when we were having these discussions, and we talk about a lot of heavy things in these spaces, and a lot of times as we're uncovering more and more, we're realizing that like, wow, I can't believe. So it's really just the corrupt politicians, the sellouts, so the whole intention. By the way, Dustin and Jennifer, they were kind of central figures in the Tea Party and these grassroots movements. And so I've been
I like
able
Dustin.
to trust me, if nothing else, I'm a very good judge of character. And I would say that, like, I decided to go full force and help them, as and they're always works, because I'm not very politically savvy, just in case y'all politics. But so we're partnering, and they're literally drawing in quality people and vetting. So if they ask you to come, that's
Okay.
solid.
Yeah, they
Hey,
asked
I
me
just want
to help vet people because of what I do professionally and stuff like that. And certain things, I can't be put on any of those lists. So or America in ways that I would think that would be problematic. But I share all the things that are peripheral to what I do for work, which I'm allowed to do. But I can't like go that far to where I associate with people that are like on every single watch list.
Oh, that's
So
100. I totally 100% understand. And I think, for the most part, being kind of vocal about that, and talking to Dustin and or Jennifer about that, there will be like intentional measures taken to ensure that you are not entangled in that association.
okay,
And,
yeah.
so that's
Because
100%
I just
understand.
look at the Simone Gold situation. Since I knew her like before she was what she's doing now professionally, like from like a distance, but medically wise, and it's shocking to see like to be stripped of your medical and your legal license, and to have all this crazy personal stuff out there in the world, and and then like the whole
Right.
financial embezzlement stuff and all that. Whatever the I don't know what's real or not. It's none of my business. But to have been there in the cap, right? Because
Chai, real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I
oh, you're a nationalist. I said, look, why don't you frame it different? Are you, instead of asking somebody, are you native? It's not front of the plane, back of the plane. It's not first class, second work, work on the side against evil.
or to hold
I'll
the
step
line,
down for
to
that.
hold the line, right?
yes, sir. Very well said, Dutch. I really appreciate that. That absolutely 100%. Honey Badger, I know you were waving your hand a little bit. Do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, like all of these spaces are significant in a certain way or another. In other words, we can cancel bad lighted person in so much as when I became 21, I became an RN, and I went through the gamut of holistic nutrition in Berkeley. And what my takeaway was, I know now that I know nothing. In other words, nothing canceled my, my pathophysiology, microbiology, etc. studies from what I learned through holistic nutrition. Yet at the same time, it helped me understand how controlled my education was before then. So I guess what I'm saying is this, listening to doctors passionately disagree with each other through spaces has been the most fascinating thing to me because
Logical response and the emotional response will run you off a cliff.
we need to know, we need fearful we become tried to challenge Dr. Malone to just have a conversation about spike protein. I would just really like to know mRNA technology at this point while we
Dr. Barat Bose up here to speak, because he and I were talking in a space. I think it might have been yesterday, and it was really good. But we cut it off early because we didn't want to compete with Carolina's space, and there was some other stuff going on. But I encourage everybody to follow him. If you see him up here on the speaker list, I encourage you to follow him, because I believe that he has a very deep knowledge of truth. I guess I'll just say it like that. And Dr. Bose, if you're here, I would like to speak with you. For absolutely follow up our conversation more later. But if you have to leave, we can talk now. If not, if you can afford to wait, I think it would be better, because there might be more people in here to hear your message. So let me know. He might not be around. Okay, so we'll just go on. But JT, I know you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, or I can wait. But if we're waiting on the doctor to come back, I can talk now.
Yeah, go ahead and say what you want to say.
Okay. Yeah. So, in regards to the reproductive system and becoming infertile due to the mRNA that you were just speaking about, I was in the last group, but as many of you know, I never got a shot, but I was one of the early ones infected with SARS-2, June of 2020. And every side effect or adverse reaction from these jabs are the same side effects that I got as a long hauler from long COVID. And yet, I didn't get any treatment. I just had a lot of doctors. And one of the things that happened to me is I became infertile, and had ovarian cysts. It's just inflammation. It's like anywhere in your body that the virus goes, it just blows it up. Like no matter where. My heart, I got hypertension, never had it before. But thankfully, I didn't take any of the prescribed medications, even though I saw tons of specialists and tons of pills were thrown at me. I just waited it out and took ivermectin, which I'm positive, took care of the inflammation. And now I just deal with the shedding, as far as, menstrual concerns go. But it's better. It's a lot better. I'm 36 years old, and I have 2 kids, thankfully. Um, but everybody around me is experiencing the same thing, but yet they got the shots. And one more thing I want to mention, and I would like to expose, and I would like to bring, for everybody that's doing all this research, they diagnosed me with a primary immune disease, the spike protein, the jabs. Okay. And it takes thousands of donors for one bottle, for the infusion. And then July, I started noticing my long haul symptoms being, triggered. And I kept asking my doctor, like, what's going on? Oh, we don't know. Oh, and by the way, you need to get your COVID shot because it helps with long haul, so I didn't. But then I started noticing this rare disease that I so-called had. More and more people were being diagnosed, and they were all people that got the jab. And when you talk about babies, there are tons of young children now that have a primary immune disease. And what are they doing for treatment? They're getting those infusions. And those infusions are not clean donors. And so it's just triggering this autoimmune, like they were talking about in the last group. And so it's not just about the Pfizer or, I'm not going to talk about all the other ones, but it's not just about that. It's also about
the long-term effects this is having, and for everyone, and mostly for the ones with a shot. So that's all. I just wanted to bring that up again. And if there's anybody out there that wants to research or wants to expose it, I want to help people, but I'm also not scared. And I've been trying to get someone to listen to me. And of course, the doctors won't listen to me. The people that have the immune disease, they won't listen to me. So that's it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, I'm sorry that you're going through what you're going through, but at least you do have 2 kids already, so that's fortunate.
I'm not complaining at all. I'm very blessed, and I'm thankful that I'm not getting infusions. My health is better than it's ever been, and I don't have to go to the doctor. So I'm very thankful and blessed. But
Oh, definitely.
I was just sharing there's a whole nother world out there that they're not getting the help that they need, and they're being lied to just like I was.
Yep. AC Truth, I know your hand was next, but if you don't mind, I'd like to go to John next. John,
I'm going to post Jaw up off the ground. After he shared in the Project Veritas space, what was happening, and what he was seeing with his patients. And
years. And I think that there's even a darker force behind just the divide and the people that the people that we've seen are the bad players throughout this whole thing. I never see their posts on social media, and I was wondering what's that about. The only way I can break out of my algorithm is to go on their pages, to click on their links, to then make just a bland comment of like, oh, that's interesting, or haven't seen that before. And I have to do that on multiple posts in order to break out of my algorithm, to then see people who are those who very much so support the vaccine. And then when I break out of it and I look for the same articles that I find that warns about the vaccine, all I get are articles that talk about how safe it is. So that's a big issue, is that the people who we would assume would know that there's a lot of vaccine injuries and there's a lot of this stuff going on, they're not seeing it. That's why they're so dogmatic, and they're losing their cool and making us and saying, prove it, or that's a lie, or that's not true. Because there's papers that literally say the very opposite of every single thing that we know that doctors are coming out with. And so
AC Truth, there's stuff that I know about, like that I pulled up on the Pfizer website or other specific, or not at Pfizer, on the FDA website, that I know I got them in the past, and now when I try to navigate there, I have a really hard time finding
yes,
them. Or I'm sure you know about the maybe you've seen the image at some point in the past of the where the vaccine settles in the, I hate to call it that, the shot settles in the like the ovaries and like the sex organs and stuff in those rats. And I was looking for that picture today and I couldn't find it
exactly
anywhere.
And that means that you got out of your algorithm somewhat slightly, which means that you've interacted with somebody that's either middle of the road or opposite view than you, more than you would have known, and then it kicked you out in a way where you won't find those particular things. That's what's so insane about this AI. We're in these tight algorithms.
I've got other tricks up my sleeve.
And so I have to break out of it. I break out of my algorithm at least once every 3 days to see what the argument's going to be, because my friends are losing their life. That was my first point. And then my second one is that my friends who were pregnant right before the pandemic, and they had their baby before the vaccine came out, they went ahead when it was okayed for their baby to get the vaccine. Every single one of their children have an eye that is smaller than the other, like they had mini strokes, and they're always sick. So I've got about six friends, one that a total of 7, but 6 that their children are sick on a constant basis. And no matter what I send them,
they're like, no, my doctor says, and they send me 12 articles that say the exact opposite. And